Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to At the Gardens. It's Monday, something. Let me check what the date is. It is Monday, August 24th. I lose track all the time, and I wanted to thank everybody again for your attention. Super stoked to get the week started off with some great content. We've got some great guests planned out for this week. Great conversations, lots of busy stuff going on at Creative Gardens as we get ready for the school year and our GAP program supporting LCPS learners with certified educators. So if you need help, please visit www.creativegardensva.com. Shameless plug right off the top. But today, the focus is babies, which I'm excited about, and a topic that I could go endlessly on about. The importance of proper care for infants. And today, let me give a little insight, a little context. Last week, I reached out on the Loudoun County Social Collective page to see if there were other Loudoun County folks that wanted to jump on the show and talk about kids and education and infants and babies and all that. And Lisa Sarabi was one of those people that reached out and said, "Hey, I'm a doula, would love to talk about my business." And, doulas, that word, that name has been around for a long time, but, I think it's becoming much more prevalent these days as there's a huge shift towards the importance of infant care. So I'm not going to blab all about it like I know what I'm talking about there. I'm going to have somebody on that really knows what they're talking about when it comes to doulas, and that is Lisa. So we're going to go ahead and bring Lisa on. Hold on one second. Lisa, how are you today? Hold on.
Great.
Okay, great. Now we're good. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on the show. How are you doing?
I'm super good. It's a beautiful Monday morning. And, as an entrepreneur, as you understand very much, it's a great opportunity to get at the week and be proactive and do really good things. So thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it as we talk all about babies. Now, Lisa, the first question I normally ask guests on the show is simply, what's the origin story of Lisa Sarabi in the business that you're doing now? What brought you to becoming a doula?
So when I had my first child, I didn't know anything about childbirth or pregnancy, and I think a lot of the women don't really talk much about it. So I had a really bad birthing experience. And after that, when I got pregnant a year later, I was really scared of going through the whole process again, and I just didn't know what to do. My friend suggested me to take a childbirth education class, and it was actually childbirth education and doula training certificate program. And I did that with my mom. And afterwards, it was just amazing at the amount of knowledge that I had. And my second birth was just really great. I felt empowered. And I really wanted to help other women to experience that good birthing experience and not be traumatized and not have to go through a really bad experience the way I went through the first time. I almost went depressed. It was a very difficult time. I had a very hard recovery. And the second time was just really easy. And I just really want to help and make a difference in other women's life who could use a little bit of education and a little bit of support during their pregnancy or their labor or even postpartum care, and really, take care of themselves and be able to take care of their infants in a much proper way than they would if you have a bad experience and you go into a hard time. So that's what really started my business.
That's amazing. And yeah, I think we don't talk about enough, the fears, going into having a child. I can't relate in the perspective of a mom. You hear the statement said a lot. We are pregnant. Hey, we're pregnant. Yeah. We're not anything. She's pregnant. I'm here for support. My fiance recently, we have a 2-year-old now. So we're about 2 years. I have 5 kids total in a blended family, but but with this time around, what's interesting is like you said before, I think one, with the perspective of having one, and two, going into it with proper information can really ease that anxiety that we're kind of talking about, which can ultimately, as we don't talk a ton about, affect the mental health of moms as they kind of come out, even postpartum. That's why we have this big postpartum depression
Right.
upswing, and especially now with everything going on with COVID, I'm sure that that's 300 times worse than it was before. So I think that the work that you're doing is really amazing. Now, a quick question for
Thank you.
you:
Hmm.
um, what is the most asked question that you hear as a doula from, let's say, in your first meeting with a family?
Hmm.
What is the most asked question that you hear so much about that parents are so confused on?
Just how doulas can help in general. I think a lot of mothers, especially if they're first-time mothers, don't really know how doulas can help them. Um, so that's generally about like, what you can help with. And also just knowing the difference between having a natural birth versus a medicated birth. A lot of the hospital procedures, like, my doctor's having me do these kind of tasks and I'm having this kind of birth. I guess going through the birth plan, is this something that you think is good? And we don't really give medical advice. We're there for support, but we just kind of explain the whole process to them. And that makes it a little bit easier for them to know, okay, this is my birth plan, this is how doulas can help me, what's going to happen when I actually go to labor. So just kind of explaining all that to them. How can we make labor go faster if you're stalled? Um, how can the birthing person help you? So, either you have your husband that's going to be there or a doula or both. We have different roles. How can they really help you achieve really good birthing experience so it's as less painful for you as possible? How can you help yourself? We touch a little bit about nutrition and exercise and after postpartum care, what are some things that you can do to recover? So despite being, even a second and third time mom, there's still a lot of things that would not know, especially if we didn't take a childbirth education class, or if you're not really trained. So we really help them to know a lot about, how their bodies work during their pregnancy and during the labor, how we can all help them, just explaining some of the medical terminologies. And the same thing when they're at the birth and you go to hospital. The OBs or midwife might not explain certain medical terminologies, and so they might be confused, and so they look at us and say, what is she saying? And we just generally explain, like, this is what the doctor is saying, and it just makes it a little bit easier for them to understand what's going on and to be able to, with their bodies, to have a faster and easier labor.
Sure, which is, I mean, so important. And it's a scary experience in general for first
Yeah.
time moms that are going through labor. It's quite, and depending on if it's a C-section or natural, and then if you're
Mhm.
doing medicated or natural birth there.
Mhm.
Um, when you're getting involved as a doula, is this a process that starts at the beginning of the pregnancy, or is this something where that you kind of pick up in second and third trimester and guide them into the process, or do you find that most people come to you? When do most people come to you?
I think it depends. We've had clients coming in various stages. Either they had a really bad first pregnancy and now they want to reach out to somebody during the second pregnancy to have a better experience. They could be in the second trimester or further along in the third trimester. For us, it's better to work with the client either in the first or second trimester so we can really have that time to educate them. When they're a little bit further along, it makes it difficult because now we have a shorter time frame. Once the woman reaches 37 weeks, she can have her baby anytime up until they're 40 to 42 weeks. So if they reach to us later on, it gives us less time for them to educate them. So we just kind of have to, work with their schedule. Like, hey, we need to meet, 2 to 3 times to just go over everything to make sure you're covered before your due date. But if they're during the second or first trimester, it makes it much easier for us to also give them the chance to take our childbirth education class, which really goes more intense into the whole process of, how the physiology of a woman, the importance of nutrition and exercise and all that in more detail.
Yeah, and a lot of moms, I think, are afraid of exercising during pregnancy. I think a lot of moms in general are just afraid. I run a school here in Ashburn Village called Creative
Mhm.
Gardens, and we're opening another one in South Riding as well called the Ohana School. And these both house infants. And
Okay.
so a lot of my job is, I kind of have educational background in early childhood and
Mhm.
and and know a lot in regards to infant care, things like that. But I think parents in general kind of fear the worst when it comes to anything baby, and some of those fears are rational, but some of them I think are fueled by, and this is where my question is going, fueled by a different kind of a community in the Facebook social media world where you have so much information that goes out.
Mhm.
Half of it, to probably 75%, isn't even true. Do you
Mhm.
find that a lot of your job is debunking what parents bring to you? Like, I heard too much zinc and my baby will turn into an alien. So, you know what I mean? So, do you find that you kind of have to field a lot of that false information?
Um, it really depends, I guess. Some of it could be cultural. I know I'm from Afghanistan, so they don't really talk much about childbirth. You're just supposed to know everything about pregnancy and labor. But you also see things in movies, so you have a different perspective, or this is how you think birth is going to be. And we always see birth as being painful. So most time when I see women getting pregnant, the first thing that they do is the fear. It shows, and so they're very scared. And
Hmm.
so we really try to calm them down and grow their confidence to be able to work. So I think it could be with the social media, a lot with what we see in the movies. The only thing we see is like, the water breaking, the pain starts, and she's in labor. And that's about it.
And
That's
screaming,
the
and a
content.
lot of screaming. Ah, you know.
Yes, yeah. So it doesn't have to be painful. If you really get a proper education, you really get the right doctor, OB, midwife, whoever to really help you, and you have the right, you know, birth support teams that can help you. So your husband, the doulas, your mother, if you want her to be there. So it depends. Sometimes, yeah, they could come with a lot of fears based on what they see or what they hear from other people.
Hmm.
And it could also be uh, the lack of education that they have. And so now they're very confused. There's a lot of things on the internet. And so we really help to give them the right kind of information. And we work with their doctors so that we're not going against them, that we're like, hey, what medical advice are giving you, it's good based on your situation, or hey, try this alternative, talk to them, see if this might work better for them or for you. And it's something that your provider can work with you. um, so yeah, so I think it's really a mix of the fears that they see or that they hear, and we really try to help ease that fear.
Yeah, I can only imagine kind of how exponentially more fear that you can have when you have this kind of way of connecting with so many different moms with so many different. It's a lot like COVID, and hearing all of the different symptoms of COVID and the facts about COVID and the non-facts and all of that craziness. Now, using that as a segue,
Mhm.
have you had to do a lot of studying on the COVID 19 response to infants and things like that so that you can properly guide families that have fear, let's say, with giving birth in a hospital?
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of people are a little bit more afraid to give birth in the hospital. So we saw a switch to having home births,
Love it.
or going into birthing centers,
Yeah.
and also limiting the amount of people that would either be at their birth or afterwards. And for us to be in quarantine so that we only see, one patient, and we're not really going out and about. Yeah, hygiene is a huge difference. We need to have proper hygiene when we're seeing different clients. So having our mask on, having our gloves on, and taking care of that. So there was a big shift, and I think some doctors were also scheduling more C-sections that wasn't necessarily needed. So talking to the patients and saying, hey, it's not necessarily needed. I know because of COVID they want to schedule it because it makes it a bit easier. But we saw a little bit of shift, and also doulas had to go more virtual. So we now provide more virtual support, especially if they want to have the informational support that they need and have that confidence and that support from someone else that has a little bit more knowledge, but they might not necessarily need us in their birth. And we couldn't even go to a lot of the births. The
Right.
hospital rules had changed where they can only have one support system. So that if they're choosing their husband, well, how can we support as doulas? So we still give them that information support through phone calls, through video chats, help them when they go through labor, all the way through active labor until they decide to go to the hospital. And then in the hospital, either they can be with us on the phone or like on the computer, or if they don't want us at that time, then they can have the help of their spouse or whoever they're with. So we saw a little bit of shit where we had to learn more of how to provide virtual support during this time.
Yeah, which is I would imagine as challenging as what we do here in care with for kids and education for kids is like there's a connection piece that you miss when you're in the
Yeah.
room with the mom. They're giving birth. There's that energy that's in the room that it's
Mhm.
really hard to duplicate. So good on you for like being very innovative and having to pivot. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, no, I would imagine it's crazy. So for our listeners and viewers out there, what is the biggest difference between a midwife and a doula?
So a doula is not medically trained. We don't have the medical schools that the midwives would go to. We are just certified.
Mhm.
So we don't provide any medical advice. We're just there for the support. So we provide physical support, informational support, and emotional support. So a midwife or an OB will come really when it's time to give birth. And so we're there the whole time the woman is in labor. The midwife or OB will come in and check on the expected mother. But when it's time, that's when they start their job. So we're really there through the whole process when the woman goes into labor. So they'll first, call the provider or they'll call us and say, hey, I'm having some kind of signs, and they'll let us know when they want us to be there. So generally, we're there at their house before we take them to the hospital, and then we're there with them the whole time. And every woman's labor varies. It's different hours.
Mhm.
So some women can labor for 24 hours, some women can labor for 10 hours. If it's your first time baby, it's normally 12 to 24 hours. So it
Wow.
really depends. So we're really there through the whole labor with you, helping you all the way till you have your baby. And then the provider journey just comes and checks and then is there when you're pushing the baby out. And if anything goes wrong, then they're for you. But we're really there for that emotional, physical, and informational support through the pregnancy and labor and delivery.
I love that, and with the rise in home births, because that's not the first time I've heard this through all of it. And my friend actually Jessica, who lives out in Colorado, just became a doula and absolutely loves it.
Mm,
Do you perform, or are you there? I guess the way I think about it is if you're doing a home birth
mm,
and you're joining the family in that home birth,
mm.
does there need to be a midwife there as well too, or can you kind of facilitate a birthing process? Let's say in a large pool, because I kind of think I know how
Mhm.
it's like a water birth, correct? If
Right,
you do it at
right.
home, are you able to facilitate that process yourself, or do you have to at some point be like, bring in the medical team?
So if the client wants to have an unassisted birth, which is when they don't have a provider, we could go there for support. But yeah, we cannot do like any kind of checks, and we cannot really help if there any complication arises, let's say.
Yeah,
For the most part, they will be fine, but sometimes they might get tears because we don't know how to do such. So like I said, we're not medically trained, so
right.
you would still need to have your provider there. But if you want to go unassisted, I mean, we'll still support you,
I
but
love
now it
it.
depends on doulas. Some doulas don't support
Yeah,
because they're afraid, if anything goes wrong, they'll be, uh, you know,
liable. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you'll have it in your contract. Like we'll have it in our contract, if you do have decide to go not have a provider go medically unassisted, then we don't want to be held liable. So we'll dare to support her and we'll guide her. But yeah, like I said, if anything goes wrong, then it will be difficult. So then you'll have to either call 911 to either get them the help or
Yeah.
to have that provider there.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is people forget that we used to have babies all the time without doctors.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Well,
happens. It
my
still happens every day, right?
Yeah, my
Uh,
mom was a midwife, so I'm in partnership with her. So
that's
she
awesome.
also gives me a lot of advice. So when she's there with me, it makes it much easier to know that okay, if anything goes wrong, I can ask her for advice. But normally when we're with a client, it's either either one of us, not both of us don't go unless they really need both of us to be there. So it gives me some kind of a relief, the fact that she's there with me.
Hmm.
But I haven't attended an unassisted birth at the moment, or as
Yeah.
of yet. So that's a good thing. So for me
Yeah.
and Ryan, we have the medical professions who will take care of that, and we're definitely there to support the woman through the whole process.
And I think, the job that you're doing is so important in providing proper support, proper information, even husbands, dads, I won't, moms, second
Right.
moms, however the birthing structure looks, however your family looks. I think, for all of us, and for me, I was in education, I've been in education 20 plus years. I didn't truly get it, right? And like to truly get it or understand kiddos until I was a parent and until I was in the room and until I saw life happening right in front of me.
Right.
It provides a different perspective on life from the adult. I think it's just so important that moms that are going into this, where this is a fundamental shift in anything that they've experienced before. They're birthing something from their bodies. It's a very beautiful thing, but it's a very scary thing, and I would imagine. And I think with information and knowledge, there's an ease, there's a lessening of anxiety, and
Mhm.
I think that that's so important.
Yeah. We really help the partner. So either if they want their husband, their mother, whoever, we really coach them as well. Whatever information we give to the client, I always tell them, please share it with your birthing partner because it makes a huge difference. They will know how to support you properly. Like my husband was definitely there at my birth and he supported me. But the way that he was able to support me the second time was a huge difference. So
Yeah,
now he knows what to tell you, what if, telling you to relax, telling you to remain positive, the birthing positions make a difference, especially during the birth or in the pregnancy. Supporting you and like, hey, you need to have more proteins in your body, for example. You need to exercise. You need to stay active. Those things that if he knows and he's able to help you and guide you makes our jobs much easier too. Because now I have a coach who is reminding me rather than someone who's kind of confused and doesn't really know. And I don't blame them. A lot of men, like you said, don't go through the trouble, so they don't know how to support a woman.
hmm,
But when we educate them now, they know how to support their wife much better. And so we see a happier couple because they're able to work together during the pregnancy and during the labor. So it makes a huge difference in their life. And for us to be able to tell them, okay, as a husband, having maybe like massaging your wife if her back hurts, if she's not feeling, if she's very fatigued, maybe picking up on the housework or maybe making her like a nutrition meal. Those small things really makes a difference on the woman and the baby and the couple as a whole. So I really believe that education makes a huge difference to the birthing partner, and we really try to give a lot of information so that the husbands can know how to work with us and their wife, especially when the wife goes into labor. So don't panic. Here's some things that you can do. Give us a call. We'll be there. And then while we're there, what are some other things that you can do? If we're giving your wife a massage, maybe you can bring like a heated blanket, something that could help her stay warm. Maybe you can bring water. So we really work with the family together, even if they have a home birth. Uh, what we can do to make the mother feel very comfortable so that
yeah.
she has a good experience. So we don't have, we have our different roles. So we're not the same. So the husband's not confused, like, okay, well, what am I doing if you're supporting her? We guide them, we help them. Like, this is how you can really support even when we're there and how we can really achieve a better birthing experience for your wife. So I really believe education makes a huge difference.
Absolutely, and I think as you're talking and saying that, I'm thinking in my head, and sometimes it's probably best for men to be out of the room for a little while and being okay with that, and being I think the connection between the partners having the baby is so important, and the communication going into something like that, because there are things that you can expect, and then there is real life where you just can't predict what's going to happen, and you have to have as the either father or again other mother or whatever, however you look at it, that other person has to be the support system during a time where the number one focus of mom delivering is delivering, and she can't really she can't really worry about anything else. And so I think, yeah. So, okay. So if you had to give a tip, and I don't want to give all your doula secrets away, but for moms that are looking to, let's say, take one thing supplement wise during pregnancy that is extremely good just all around, what would you think that the best recommendation for something for new moms would be?
I'll give a couple of tips. Why not? Definitely take a childbirth class. Have a doula if you really need. I mean, you should have a doula if you really want the support, extra support that can help you. With the right tools, you definitely will be able to have a better birthing experience or a good birthing experience. Some other things that I tell my clients is you need to have at least 80 to 100 grams of protein per day during your pregnancy. Always have a good amount of exercise, so that makes a huge difference in having a better labor or faster labor. So we generally tell our clients to walk a lot. So walking, taking your protein, educating yourself about childbirth. And the number one thing that I would say really, really helps you when you're in labor is relaxing. When you work with your body, labor goes much faster than working against your body. So when you're panicked and you're fearing, the process, it might be a little bit longer, but when you can just let go and relax and really work with your body, it can make a huge difference. And I saw it with my birth. So we really tell our clients to just relax as much as you can, and tell the birthing partner when you see your wife really tensing and just having a harder time and she's getting frustrated, just remind her to take deep breaths and to relax.
Yeah, and I think I keep thinking prenatal yoga, things like that, learning breathing.
Yeah, those can help.
Yeah, because I think overall the kind of core message here is that there's a lot of anxiety and fear in having a baby, but the reality is, it's, to me, the most beautiful thing that's ever been invented in the world by the creator. I think it's an unbelievably magical thing for families to experience, and and every single time, as I would imagine, and you definitely know, is different. Like, there's not like a, everybody responds differently. Every parent is different. Every dad that I've seen go into the waiting room and think that they're so tough and then pass out on the floor as soon as the baby, and then they have to be asked to leave. I mean, it's a very beautiful yet very crazy situation to have a baby, and almost it's almost ununderstandable, right? Like, I think that there's like I was saying, there's an energy in the room that you get to experience all the time, and it's got to be just unbelievably magical to do so. Would you say that that's why you do it? Is it that direct response of having an impact in the world?
Because you really make a difference in someone's life.
That's right.
If I can get someone to not be traumatized, to not be shocked during their labor, to not experience as painful as it should be, and make a difference, then why not? And I saw with my two births, I had that, like I said, a very great birth the second time around. And if I had that proper education, or that supporting roles from either a provider or the nurses, it would have made a huge difference. So I definitely think that if I can really make someone's life much easier and better, whether they're having the first child or second or third, then why not? And even the recovery makes a huge difference. You can have a 1 or 2 weeks recovery, which is really good, compared to like a 4-week recovery. Then yeah. And even if I tell you what are some things that you would need to recover faster, and if that helps you, then I really think that I would take the chance and really help more women out there to have a really good experience, and not to fear the whole process, but to have a good process.
Yeah, and I think too, part of that kind of recovery process, at least in my experience, there's got to be a lot of lactation consulting and getting the baby to kind of get going there as well too, if so the parent chooses. Is that something that doulas cover?
So if you would be like a
Somewhat,
certified lactation consultant, we'll give them
right?
some tips, but if they
Sure.
really want to work more, then I would reference them to a lactation consultant that I work with.
Mm,
But I don't think that it's just about breastfeeding. It's also about the woman taking care of her body to heal faster so that she's able to take care of her baby faster. And also
yes.
your life changes. You have to now be on the schedule of a newborn who's waking up every 2 to 3 hours. You know, telling them, hey,
Yes.
let's try to create some kind of schedule, or maybe you and your partner can take turns taking care of the baby so the other person can rest. Or while
Mm,
you are breastfeeding the baby, maybe the husband can bring you some food. Maybe he can take care of the housework. So there are other things, other areas that we cover that a woman would need to recover better, other than just breastfeeding. But
yeah.
yeah, we do give tips like, things that can increase breastfeeding, maybe herbal stuff, more hydration, just keeping the baby close to you. And we also talk about bonding of the baby, with the baby and the father. The father definitely needs to bond with the baby as well, so that skin to skin is important.
Yeah.
Just infant care, what are the things that they really need when they are going through that first month, what kind of care do they need? Would you like to swaddle your baby? Would you like to give your baby a pacifier? Keeping the room a little bit warm. So just other things aside from breastfeeding that we kind of cover for the parent after the baby comes.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, if I had somebody, and mind you, the nurse loosely showed me how to swaddle. I can only imagine that you're a swaddle master. That you've got like you can just
I
go,
got it though.
and then it's all done.
Yeah.
But a good swaddle can really calm a baby, that's for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
But listen, Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up here today. I truly appreciate your time on the show. I could talk about babies, and I see cute babies every day, and it's the best thing ever. If people want to find you and find your business, which is Sarabi Doulas, how can they find you?
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Garrett. So they can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Sarabi Doulas, or they can also go to my website, which is sarabidoulas.com,
Mm-hmm.
which is you're showing over there.
Yep.
They can also email us, sarabi.doulas@gmail.com. So various ways to connect with us and get the support that you would really need. So thank you so much, Garrett, for having me on the show. It's great talking to you.
Yeah, it was great talking. I always love talking about things that I don't know 100% about, and this is definitely one of those subjects. So rather than going off like I do, I have great people on like you. So thank you again
Thank
so
you.
much, Lisa. That being said, I'm gonna. There we go. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in to At the Gardens today with Lisa Sarabi. Remember that all of our shows are down on our feed on the at creativegardensva.com page or the Facebook page at Creative Gardens VA. We're also on YouTube. You can find us at Creative Gardens Early Education, where you can find all the wonderful good bits when it comes to this show. We also have some great clips that we put on TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. Some great bits of information that we learn about on the show. We're going to have some great guests tomorrow. We have Jay Johnson on. He is going to talk to us about discipline and working with kids with discipline. So I cannot wait to talk to him. Looking forward to that show big time. That being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Like and subscribe to this video if it's on YouTube. If it's on Facebook, please like and comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and we respond very quickly. So if you're interested in care for infants through 5-year-olds here at Creative Gardens VA, you can visit our website, www.creativegardensva.com. That being said, have a wonderful day. Keep your head up and keep moving forward. From At the Gardens, this is Garrett Wilhelm. Peace.